Some very important medications come in these glass ampules that you need to break to get the medicine out. This can be dangerous because the most common technique does not mitigate all the risks. Usually you just flick the tip to get all the medicine down, then put a piece of gauze on the tip to protect your hand from being injured when the glass breaks. Finally, you hold the ampule with the blue dot facing away from you, and put the thumb of your dominant hand level with the dot, applying even pressure as you pull the tip towards you. This results in tiny shards of glass flying away from you as the ampule breaks at its neck. A splash of medicine can also fly out as the ampule pops open. The great news is there is a better, safer, and inexpensive way of opening glass ampules. Take a syringe and remove its plunger. Then insert the ampule neck deep into the syringe. With the dot facing away from you, grasp the syringe with the thumb and forefinger of one hand, and the large end of the ampule with the thumb and forefinger of your other hand. Besides containing the shards, the syringe also provides extra leverage, reducing the amount of force required to break the neck. Of course, some shards will still get into the medicine. Using a filter needle will ensure that these aren't injected into the patient.
You probably think a T-shaped wound should be sutured with simple interrupted sutures, but that approach pinches the blood vessels supplying these little triangles of skin trapped between the sutures, leading to their tragic death. The resulting hole in the middle will then have to be filled with scar tissue, leaving a wider scar. To prevent skin death and scarring, use the 4-point stitch for T-shaped wounds. Begin by taking a bite through the skin into the dermis at the top of the T, then pass through the dermis of one flap followed by the opposite flap, and finally exit the skin adjacent to your initial entry point to tie a surgeon's knot between the two ends. This results in 4 dermal bites that perfectly distribute tension and avert the edges of the T-junction without pinching supplying blood vessels. You probably think a T-shaped wound should be sutured with simple interrupted sutures, but that approach pinches the blood vessels supplying these little triangles of skin trapped between the sutures, leading to their tragic death. The resulting hole in the middle will then have to be filled with scar tissue, leaving a wider scar. To prevent skin death and scarring, use the 4-point stitch for T-shaped wounds. Begin by taking a bite through the skin into the dermis at the top of the T, then pass through the dermis of one flap followed by the opposite flap, and finally exit the skin adjacent to your initial entry point to tie a surgeon's knot between the two ends. This results in 4 dermal bites that perfectly distribute tension and avert the edges of the T-junction without pinching supplying blood vessels. The same technique should also be used for V, Y, and X-shaped wounds. Just take dermal bites through all the angled skin flaps in sequence before tying the surgeon's knot to gently bring the wound edges together. Simple interrupted sutures can then be added to the ends if needed to finish closing the wound. To tie surgical knots that won't fail, make sure to alternate your throws so the short end of suture ends up on the opposite side after each throw. Don't forget to use code VETVENTURES10 for 10% off your proximity suture pad and start practicing.
Healthcare providers can wash and disinfect their hands over 100 times a day. When they're not scrubbing in for surgery, here's the 3-step protocol they follow to protect their hands from drying out. Step 1. Washing the hands with Bactilin soap, which is specially designed for frequent hand washers. It has the same acidity as your skin, which prevents resident skin flora from falling off. These resident bacteria, viruses, fungi, and even mites help protect your skin from pathogens, prevent excessive water evaporation to keep your skin moist, and even help wounds heal faster. However, since Bactilin does not have any antimicrobial ingredients, it doesn't disinfect the hands. So in step 2, sterilium is used for disinfection. It's an alcohol-based hand rub that kills pathogens without significantly harming the skin microbiome. It also contains a moisturizing complex to prevent the skin from drying after repeated use. Finally, Bactilin balm is used to soften and moisturize the skin. It also soothes any redness or irritation caused by vigorous washing. Damaged skin is at increased risk of pathogen colonization. So looking after the skin is an important part of hand hygiene.
Stop using the economy of movement technique when suturing, because if you do, after looping the long end of suture around your instrument and pulling the short end through, the short end always stays on the same side. That means every throw stacks the same way, producing a slip knot with a straight suture tail surrounded by a series of half hitches. Slip knots are not secure, they depend solely on friction, so under sufficient tension, they can easily loosen and unravel. What you need in surgery are true square knots, where each successive throw sits perfectly in the groove formed by the previous. As a result, square knots lock themselves, so instead of slipping under tension, they actually tighten. To tie surgical knots that won't fail, alternate your throws using both your instrument and your tying hand, so the short end of the suture ends up on the opposite side after each throw. This may not be as fast as the economy of movement technique, but your sutures will hold and your patient won't die, so it's worth the extra effort. Also ensure to always place your needle holder between the short and long ends before looping the long end around. Otherwise, if you place it on the opposite side of the long end, you'll end up with granny knots. Use code VETVENTURES for 10% off your suture buddy kit and start start practicing.
So you want to be a surgeon during the next apocalypse, but let's see if you can really think like one. You find an abandoned clinic and want to gather some supplies in case there is a need to stitch up some skin. You look everywhere for suture supplies but can't find any. Which of the following would be your first choice to use as an alternative suture material? A. A piece of string from your clothes. B. A strand of the patient's hair. Or C. A blade of grass. Now you have your suture material, but you also need a suture needle. Would you make one from A. A sewing needle, B. A hypodermic needle, or C. Carve one out of a piece of wood? Now you have the basic supplies you need, but you want to test them out before using them on real skin. As a makeshift suture pad, would you use A. A piece of cardboard, B. Your sweater, or C. A banana peel? If you could only take one more item from the clinic, would you choose A. An antibiotic, B. A local anesthetic, or C. Hand sanitizer? Leave your answers in the comments so we can see which one of you could actually fill the role of a surgeon during an apocalypse. If skin acts suspicious, you should punch it. To take a punch biopsy, the suspicious section of skin is punched with a circular scalpel blade, so that a bit of skin is removed that is about the same size as the pieces of paper a hole puncher leaves behind. After being punched, the little piece of skin is removed and sent to a lab to diagnose what's wrong with it. But now there's a hole in the skin. Thankfully, holes like this can be closed with a purse string suture, which works just like the drawstrings of old-fashioned purses. Start your purse string suture by taking 2 backhand bites of the skin around the punch hole. Then take 2 to 3 forehand bites until you end up with the ends of the suture in front of the hole. Tie them into a surgeon's knot and pull on the ends to shut the hole. The way the wound edges pucker up means there will be minimal tension on them so they can heal quickly. Make sure the defect is completely buried by tucking the folds of skin inside the purse. This is a very versatile suture that can be used to close most types of holes so that they heal faster, but it has the downside of often leaving a weird looking scar. And some studies even suggest that the scar is bigger and weirder when using this technique than if the hole was left open to heal on its own. What would you prefer?
Some pills are just too big. What if you only need half a dose? Well, breaking them by hand is impossible, and using a knife leaves you with powdery crumbs and uneven pieces, so you're never sure what dose you're actually taking. Luckily, many pills are shaped like this for a reason. To split one cleanly in half, place it on a hard surface with the scored side facing up. Then press down with both thumbs on opposite ends. With even light pressure, the pill should snap neatly in half. No mess, no crumbling. If the pill isn't scored, you can still use this hack, but will have to use extra force. Then afterwards, if you need to crush that half pill, but don't have a pill crusher or mortar and pestle, do not worry. Just take 2 spoons, place the pill in one, place the other on top, and squeeze. The pill will instantly turn into powder. For a finer powder, tap the spoon to bring up the larger chunks and crush again. But if you plan on dissolving this powder afterwards, you could have skipped the crushing step entirely by just dropping the uncrushed pill into a syringe, drawing up a little water, plugging the tip, and pulling the plunger back to create negative pressure. To put it simply, this negative pressure forms microfractures in the pill that let water in. Let the plunger snap back and repeat until fully dissolved. And now the huge pill doesn't have to be swallowed whole. To give your cat a pill without getting killed, first position yourself behind the cat so they cannot back away. With your non-dominant hand, securely hold the cheekbones just behind the whiskers and the back of the skull. Then slowly tilt the head backwards using your dominant index finger to help do so. But please be careful not to overextend the neck. With your dominant hand holding the pill between thumb and index finger, extend your middle finger and open the mouth by gently applying pressure on the lower incisor teeth. These teensy-weensy front teeth will not harm you, but do be careful to avoid the larger canines. When the mouth is open, swiftly reach inside and place the pill on the back of the tongue. It is really important that the pill goes deep enough into the mouth that it cannot be pushed back out with the tongue. Then gently close the mouth and try to hold the jaw closed for a few seconds, stroking the throat in a downward motion. It used to be impossible for surgeons to suture with only one hand, but the switch is the world's first single-handed suturing device. Traditional suturing is one of the most time-consuming parts of surgery, taking up around 30% of operation time, and it may seem simple, but really takes years to master. Surgeons using conventional suturing techniques perform several coordinated motions using both hands in order to place a single suture. The needle is positioned into the needle holder and passed through the tissue, where it's recovered by forceps in the opposite hand. The needle is then repositioned into the needle holder with the forceps, and this process is repeated for every stitch. The switch, on the other hand, only requires a gentle pinch using your thumb and index finger. It's always secured, so there's never a need to reposition. No juggling tools, no switching hands, and there's way less friction compared to curved needles, resulting in less risk of damaging delicate tissue. That means no cheese wearing, even in fragile blood vessels. Not surprisingly, it's twice as fast as regular suturing and makes traditional suturing look outdated.